Alright, so we are on, I think, video 5 of Lesson 10 of the 2015 version, Classroom in a Book, Adobe Illustrator CC. And we are on page 301, creating our own pattern. And this is where you could get those extra credit points for creating your own pattern. You can use these patterns, that's fine. I just want you to play around with making your own because having that skill is awesome. So press the spacebar and drag the artboard enough just to see this object. So if you press your spacebar, it kind of trippingly moves to his hand. Also see if you go to H, that's hand 2. But we're going to take our selection tool, and we're going to select this blended object, and we're going to choose Object, Pattern, Make. So you created an object and you want to make a pattern from it. And it says a new pattern's been added to the swatches panel, so you can say okay, whatever, it's fine. And this is what it looks like. So this is kind of your area, your first bounding box. And this is pattern editing mode, and it kind of hides everything else. It's kind of similar to isolation mode as well, but we can do kind of all these things. Any pattern options box kind of opens. If this isn't open, you can go to Window, Pattern Options, and it's there. So the blend objects, now a group of objects in a pattern. Blend objects are expanded and grouped, which means they can no longer edit the individual artwork. So if you create a path, a shape, or something, it has to be already set up. So I want you to zoom in. I think we're pretty zoomed in. Kind of zoom in more. And take the pattern options and we're going to change the name to waves, because we're just going to be our waves. So we're going to add some texture. And texture is always great for design. And there's different types, so you can do brick by row, how it's organized, brick by column, hex by column, hex by row, and we want to change it to hex by column. And the name appears in the swatches panel as a tooltip, and it can be helpful for distinguishing multiple patterns and whatnot. So, and see, it's right there, waves. And we're going to choose one by one from copies. So it's going to be at the bottom. So this, and this kind of shows you like what it would look like within each other, how many copies you want to see of your pattern at a time. So we're going to do one by one. So what would be appearing in here? And with the selection tool selected, we're going to drag the group over a little bit. After you finish dragging, you'll notice the blue tile moves with the artwork. So if we move it over here, the blue tile moves. So within the artwork that's selected, we're going to option and I'll drag to make 3 copies because we were working within this bounding box. This is kind of like our artboard. And we have some copies kind of going on. So in our pattern options, we're going to change to 1 by 1 to 5 by 5. And we can see how our pattern is duplicated. So anything that's in here is duplicated. And we're going to change the size. So we're going to actually try to just move. And you notice when we move these things, the whole pattern changes. So we're going to change the size tile to art options. There you go. And that's kind of this pattern here switches. So if I were to move this a bit closer, this tile kind of nests a bit closer. And it kind of helps us change, and we can edit the area manually with the tile tool buttons there. And we can actually, there if you want. So we're going to change the H spacing to -25.25. And we're going to change the V spacing to -1 inch. What it does is, you can see it kind of made this box right here a lot smaller. And for the overlap, we're going to choose brick in front, or bottom and front for this pattern. And the artwork in the pattern begins to overlap to the size of the tile. So if we kind of, you might want to move artwork around in the tile. And I think that's looking pretty cool. Yours is going to look a little different depending on where and how you copied those things. So we're going to select Show Swatch Bounds at the bottom of the pattern, right there. And we're going to click Done in the bar in the top. So we're going to click Done right here. We're going to do a Command S for a file save. So now we're going to apply this pattern. So we're going to select the scallop shape behind the shape. So I'm going to select this shape here. It's going to have a green fill. And we're going to go to our swatches. And we're going to choose waves. And there it's applying with waves right there. We're going to edit our pattern. So we're going to double click the waves pattern here to edit it. And let's say we apply it and we're like, you know, we're not feeling it too much. We're in the editing tool. And with the selection tool, oh my goodness, where'd we go? We're gonna select all. So it selects all those three objects. In the control panel, we're going to change the stroke from black to window 1 to kind of have it a softness to it. So that, and we're going to click Done. And now that pattern looks a lot softer. So with this wave shape selected, we're going to double click on the scale panel right there. We're going to change to uniform scale from 60 to 120. Scale corners deselected. Strokes deselected. Transform objects deselected. And transform patterns selected. If I do preview, so it kind of increases the size of what we've got. Click OK. And we're going to choose Object, Show All, and it shows this little white part of the boat that was missing. So we're going to try another clipping mask. We're going to try a different way because we want those little bottom shapes off. So we want Object, Clipping Mask, Make. Should probably select both shapes. Command or Control 7, and it clipped that mask. So do Command S. Now if you want to go back and try to make your own patterns, that's fine. You know, let's actually play around with patterns over here. We have nothing here, so let's take our brush tool. But notice these little lines that we're making kind of look really cool. And you can do hex by column. And you can play on different patterns like that. And you've made a new pattern. Hit cancel. But that's a way to play around with different patterns. So if you want your waves to look different, if you have a different idea for the clouds, that might be a way to explore that. So you do Command S. We're going to do a file export for our last step. And we have that little shape underneath, so we want to nest this up to the artboards. We do not want to include it. JPEG, use artboards, range 1, and export. Click OK, and it should be fine. And then that'll be the end of this video. So I hope you had some fun. Play around with some patterns. Make your own patterns. Play with gradients. See how you can make things look realistic. See you next week.